Hello, we are live. This is Matthew Newtham with Surge Business Law, and today is Friday, March 1st. It is a beautiful spring day outside, so I don't know why you're staring at your phone right now, unless you're watching the recording later, but I am happy that you have joined us for the live stream. I have a bunch of excellent, interesting, and exciting questions. Also, if you look behind me, you will see that we are starting to get decorations in the office, which is fun. A little bit of information about me is that I am not a you have to spend money to make money type of business owner. I think that business owners oftentimes get into a trap of spending too much money. So I like to keep my expenses low, and that means paying cash for things when you've got the cash. And I have decorations on that side. So that means we're starting to recover from spending a lot of money getting the new office. But that's enough about me. Let's talk about you and the questions that you have submitted because we have some good ones. What is BOI and the Corporate Transparency Act, and does it apply to me? I could go on and on. I have read and read. I have been to seminars. I've watched live streams talking about this. I help businesses that are small and growing, or businesses maybe that aren't so small and are growing. And this is a very, very common question. So you are going to find more information at the surge.law website. And if you are not on our mailing list, get on our mailing list so that you can get notified when we have specials and more information for you. But first of all, this is a very important change to U.S. law, and it applies to most people who would be interested in what my law firm provides. So BOI stands for Beneficial Owner Information, and the Corporate Transparency Act, or the CTA, is a new law that came into effect January 1st, 2024, and it applies to a lot of businesses, probably yours. So first of all, if you are a if you are if these are the types of organizations that don't need it. If you are a nonprofit, a bank, a lender, accountants, you're a publicly traded company, so you're on the stock exchange, and then some other large businesses, you don't have to worry about it. You should worry enough to know that you don't have to register, but you don't have to do that. However, if you are not a nonprofit, if you are not a bank or lender, you are not an accountant, you are not a big business, it probably applies to you. There are a list of 21 different types of businesses, but that short list that I gave you accounts for most of the usual ones. If you are a 10-person business, you've got $5 million in revenue or whatever, guess what? It applies to you. So if you are curious on what it means, first of all, I'm going to give you a summary, but I am seeing a lot of scams going on right now where unscrupulous people are saying, hey, you need to apply, you need to register. And then they're collecting your information, sometimes charging you a little bit of money, and then keeping that information to do fraudulent stuff and not registering you. And so I'm going to strongly encourage you to use a trusted source. So again, if you reach out to me at surge.law, then you can trust us to help you. I am a lawyer. I am a law firm. I have a duty to my clients. I have an ethical duty to my industry. And so a lawyer is a good one to reach out to. If your accountant does it, then you can use them. Your bank might have a seminar or information available to you. However, banks and accountants have been reaching out to me for help. So it is possible that they might point you to me or someone like me to help you with the process. It is something that you can do yourself. It is um, it is a little tricky. We've done it enough times now that we've got a pretty streamlined process, and so reaching out for help is a good idea. But at Surge.law, we're going to have a video for you. It's not up now because what I'm telling you right now will become part of that video and a process to help you get registered. So check us out there and stay tuned for help. That takes us right into the second question. How will my business and personal information be used when I register for the CTA? And first of all, I'm just going to tell you now that I can only tell you what the government has told me. And 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 how that actually will be used is a mystery. It is not clear. But the federal government, or the Corporate Transparency Act, is handled by FinCEN, and FinCEN says that federal agencies involved with national security and law enforcement will have access to your information. It'll be easy for them to get access. State agencies like that, law enforcement and security, like state security, can ask for it. Financial institutions subject to due diligence requirements, like if they have to check on the owners to see if they're US citizens or not, they will have access to it. Treasury personnel will have access to it. And there's a few other exceptions that are not so common. What you It's not public information, and anyone who says who qualifies to get that information is going to have strict rules regarding keeping that information confidential. You might say, well, did the liberals make this law or did the conservatives make this law? And I'll just tell you right now that this was bipartisan. So both sides of the political landscape loved this law and pushed for it to get done. There was some constitutional problems. I've heard from people that this law has been in the works since 2008. So that's like 16 years they've been working on getting this done. And finally it happened and it went live in 2024. So you can write to your politician and say, hey, I'm concerned about this. I think you should write to your politician and say, this is a big overreach. I think we should rein this in, but I don't think it's going to change too much. If you must register for the Corporate Transparency Act, you must share your beneficial owner information for the CTA. You must do it within 30 days of starting a new business if you're starting it in 2024. But if your business existed before 2024, then you have until the end of this year to do it, which is why you'll be hearing from me. So everyone who has used Surge Law to launch their business has registered because we've helped them do it. And we've got our process streamlined and refined so that people all across the country who don't have to do it until the end of the year will have a good experience. If that's you, search.law to learn more. How about a change of subject? I had a potential client, ask a couple questions, so I threw them on the list. How can I understand my ideal customers and tailor my products to better meet their needs? And this is an excellent question. You have heard me say it before on this live stream. You have heard me say it before on my YouTube and social channels. Your business needs to stand out from the competitors. I use the example near my office when I was in Ankeny. There were three gas stations all at the same intersection, and they were all a little bit different, and that is good. It is possible that there is no business that serves the same type of product or service that you serve, but the reality is you probably have a competitor. But I want it to be very easy for your customers to know, okay, this is what makes you different. Good, do that. So how do I understand my ideal customers and tailor my products to better meet their services? First of all, the easy solution is I want you to talk to them. And it does get as easy as that. Before I was a lawyer, this was part of my job, was to talk to people and watch them use products and services and tools to make sure that they were easy enough to figure out. You should do this. Ask your customers open-ended questions. What I want you to do is I want you to understand what is the pain point that makes them seek out you or a business like yours. And then once you listen to that pain point, then figure out how to solve it in a way different from others. Let's do some examples. Let's say that you are a handyman business and there is a bunch of handymen who do the same thing as you. Well, you could have a handyman business that targets elderly people. And maybe, they might say, hey, I just bought some furniture at Walmart or someplace, and I need you to come get it and then install it and set it up for me, right? Well, there might be nobody who does that. And so if that's your niche, now it's going to be a lot easier to customize and tailor your products and solutions to better meet their needs. Because first of all, you're going to promote your product to, for example, places where senior citizens might frequent. And you're going to talk about how, you can help them reach things that are in high places or whatnot. So that would be a way that you would listen to your customers, understand their pain points, and then you could create a product or solution to meet their needs. I specifically designed my law firm to help businesses that are commonly missed by big giant firms who bill outrageous amounts of money. And the fact is that I don't consider really any of them to be competitors to me, because I have created a product or service that's different, and my clients love it because I'm the first person who's listened to them and created a solution that meets their needs. And I want you to do that too. You can do it. Here is another. This was asked by the same person. Great question. What affordable marketing channels and strategies should I explore to increase visibility and attract more customers? So I love this. I told you before at the very beginning of the stream that I am very much a business owner who likes to keep my expenses low. And I've seen too many people come through this place spending tons and tons of money. There is a time and a place for spending money on marketing. If you have good marketing, then in theory, every dollar that you spend in marketing should translate into revenue coming into your business. You should make 4, 5, 10 times as much money on your investment in marketing. If you watched a few weeks ago, right before the Super Bowl, I went live with one of my colleagues from the Des Moines area who runs Handspring Marketing, and we talked a little bit about the return on investment of Super Bowl ads. Now, obviously, this is the exact opposite of what this question was, but we see people spending 6, 7, maybe $10 million on Super Bowl ads, but then they're making 4 or 5 times as much back. And so this is something that I want you to think about is how can you make sure that you're getting value from your marketing? Because if you spend $100 and you make $1,000, then you will want to spend as much money as you can, because the more you spend, the more you earn. But when you don't have $1,000 to spend on marketing, you should try to find affordable options. First of all, you should get a free profile on Google for your business. Every business should do this. And it is skewed a little bit towards business with physical addresses. And if you don't have a physical location, look for the option to set up a service area business. And in that case, you'll show up on the map anywhere in the zip codes or towns that you select. That is free. You don't have to pay for it. Second of all, there are services where you can get a free or very inexpensive website. And a lot of these ones are designed to be DIY friendly so that you can add your logo, or you can add your business name if you don't have a logo. You can add your hours, a list of your services. You can put that in there. You should do it, because what will happen is 5 or 6 or 7 weeks later, you'll start moving up the ranks in Google. And you might not get number one spot, because to get the number one spot in your business is probably very competitive, and you're going to have to spend money to get it. But you can at least maybe get onto the first page, or get at least high enough that you'll show up. You should get a social media account on whatever social platform you engage in, because first of all, the trick to social media marketing, it's simple. Be social. Don't create a broadcast social media program where you just automate and spit out stuff all the time, because people don't respond to that. What people respond to on social media is brands being social, and that means brands interacting. You've got time to spend on that social network. Well, if you love TikTok and you're always on TikTok, then probably TikTok is the place to go. If you love Instagram and that's your favorite place, be on Instagram. If you love Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it these days, be there. But you're going to find that it's going to be easier for you to get value and provide value to platforms where you are engaged. And that will help you be more effective with the money and time that you have. By the way, if you don't have a free Canva account, sign up for a free Canva account, because you can go in there and create all kinds of cool graphics. If you pay for it, it's very reasonable, and you can get even more graphics, but the free plan is great. And then you can actually even create posts and schedule them in Canva so that it goes out to whatever platform you like. But that's a great plan. But be on the platforms where you can be social. Now, if you are a Facebook user and you're targeting a TikTok demographic, you might say, well, I have to be on TikTok. Guess what? You're going to have to bite the bullet and you're going to have to get on TikTok and you're going to have to like it. So if you really need to be on a platform, then learn to like that platform because social media marketing should be social. All right. Now, on your website, I want you to have a sign up for a newsletter, and you can get a free account with MailChimp. MailChimp has a very generous free plan, and it's free until you get 500 people on your mailing list. And so who knows, maybe that'll take you a week, maybe that'll take you 5 years. I don't want you to spam people. I don't want you to buy email addresses, but anyone who comes to your website and shows interest in your service, or maybe if they work with you, get them on your email newsletter and then send a message to your newsletter list at least once per month. And you can keep it simple. You can keep it sweet. People like short and sweet. And so if you're on my newsletter list, you probably know that mine are not short. My audience loves very detailed and up-to-date information. But if you can't do that, short and sweet is good too. Neil Patel creates a lot of free content on YouTube and some of the other social platforms. He is a social media marketer, and he has a lot of great tips on how to create a newsletter, and you can watch his videos for free. But get as many people on your mailing list, and then what we're doing is in the marketing world, the term is keeping your list warm. And so if you only send a message to your list once a year or twice a year, then people are more likely to unsubscribe. But if you provide interesting and useful content once a month or twice a month, then you'll keep them happy, and that way they always think of you when they're ready to buy a product or service that you provide. So there's a list of things that you can do that are all free. One more thing that I would suggest doing is anytime there's networking events, if the networking event is the kind of event that attracts your target customers, then strongly consider going. I don't know if you like to read. There is a really great article at Harvard Business Review on whether or not networking events are a waste of time. I'll link to it on my social page. If you are not a subscriber to Harvard Business Review, then you can only get one free article a month, but it's a good one. And they really talk about the pros and cons of networking events. And my experience is that some events are very, very low value. And then once in a while, I will find one that is just truly, truly amazingly valuable. And so this will take some trial and error, but but the only way to find out is to do it. And so that's one to look into. But make sure that you're being selective because your time is valuable. Focus on events that attract the kind of people who either want your products or service or maybe sell complementary services or products to your ideal customers. All right, that's long enough. Let's do the next question. What necessary improvements can I make to enhance customer satisfaction? This is an excellent question that kind of goes in line with the last question I asked. Um, uh, you need to know what your customers want. The only way to make your customers happy is to understand what they want. And I'll tell you, sales is hard. And we've added a new person on our team who's doing sales, and sales is hard. And most people get nervous when they're in a sales situation. And when you get nervous, what do? You talk faster, you talk more, and you listen less. You need to do the opposite. You need to listen more, talk slower, talk less. Because if you listen more, then you will hear what it is that your customers want. Why did they come talk to you? Are you a roofer? And they say, yeah, the last time I got my roof done, I got scammed. I had to call them out 3 times, and finally they didn't even come back out anymore, and it's still not fixed. Okay. Well, what's their pain point? Well, they don't trust roofers because they had a bad roofer experience. Okay, so what do you do to enhance customer satisfaction? You do the opposite, or you make that pain point go away. And so we do this all the time. We set up scheduling appointments with potential clients, and we just listen and listen and listen, and we ask them questions. And once in a while, I'll get a potential client who's kind of irritated because I spend so much time asking questions. Well, what about this? What about that? What did you do here? What happened next? Do that. So when if you've met Nick on my team, you know he's a great guy, really awesome. He's the one that's learning to take over part of my job for new client intake. And we've been watching videos of discovery calls. And these are the best ways to understand your clients. And so if you're not really familiar with sales, go onto YouTube and search for how do I do discovery calls. But here's the secret, okay? Listen a lot more and then repeat back to your customers what it is they're telling you so that you are very clear on what their pain point is. And then do things that make that pain point go away. Your customers will be so happy. Common complaints with attorneys. Common complaints. This is what I hear the most complaints from attorneys is they never got back to me. And I can relate. I've made this mistake sometimes with clients too, where it's taken them too long to hear from me. This is a bad customer service experience. This is a pain point that people often feel with attorneys is, it might take me 2 weeks to do a step. Well, the customer might be expecting a response back in 2 days. So what can I do to improve the customer service experience at a law firm? I can respond quicker. And even if nothing's changed, hey, just to let you know, we're still working on it. There's nothing new, but we're here for you. And we have started doing that. Your customers are probably going to have a different pain point than mine, but you won't know that until you listen to them. How do I increase my sales? This is the easiest question and the hardest question. You can do a couple things. We think about like on a stereo equipment, you can adjust different knobs to get the sound you want. Well, there's your business has different knobs that you can adjust to get the results that you want. You can increase the number of people who contact you for new services. Okay. If you do that, then if nothing else changes, you'll probably get more sales. And so if you have a customer acquisition cost, then you might increase your customer acquisition cost by doing that. But it is one thing that you can do. Second of all, you can increase your conversion rate. And so if you have 10 people call you and 2 people hire you, then you've got a 20% conversion rate. You can increase sales by having a 30% conversion rate. That increases sales. There's another word here another way to interpret this. How do I increase the amount of money I make, or what's my sales revenue? You can charge more, or you can provide upsells or enhancements that cost more for your services. That is another way to increase sales. What should you do? You should do all three of those things. Do those three things, and the answer to this question will land in your lap. This was the most interesting question that I got. How do I start a trucking company, and do I need to be a driver? And I love the second part of that question. But I had to dig into how to start a trucking company. And interestingly enough, in the last year, I've probably helped 6 or 7 different trucking companies, and most of them are small independent drivers, except for one. But so I am pretty familiar with this process, but I did do a little research to be clear on it. And first of all, is you need to have some kind of a business entity. Now, when I was in law school, especially in my contracts class, we spent a lot of time talking about the problems that land truckers in court. And so a lot of lawyers don't like contracts. You'd think that's weird. If you're a criminal attorney or family law attorney, you might not have spent that much time in contracts. I spent triple the amount of average time in contracts, maybe quadruple, depending on how you look at it, because I love contracts. And so trucking companies get sued all of the time. You need an LLC or a corporation. You need something that's going to limit your liability. It's just so important. Even if you are a sub for someone else, your risk exposure is very high. So first of all, you need a LLC or corporation, and you need a strong operating agreement if you're an LLC, or really good bylaws if you're a corporation, to give you maximum protection so that you don't lose your house if your trucking business has a problem. If you are driving, you need a CDL, that is a special driver's license for truckers. You will need a US DOT number, and I think it needs to be right on the side of your truck. And so you need to register for that with the Department of Transportation. You need a unified carrier registration if you are delivering across state lines. I talked about the importance of having an LLC or corporation, something that is just as important, maybe even more important. You need good insurance, and you need the right insurance, because your insurance is your safety net. If you don't have the right kind of insurance, you don't have good insurance, you are in trouble. Things happen all of the time. People hit bridges, people get into truck accidents, people roll over in ditches, people lose their cargo, brakes go out, tires peel off and hit cars behind them. There's just so many things that can go wrong. And when you're hauling 150,000 or $1.5 million load, just the size of the risk exposure on trucking business is just really high. So you need insurance. Don't go cheap on your insurance. Here is a trick that I've seen people try to do. They'll say, well, I only have insurance for these 5 states, but you deliver nationwide. Well, guess what? Your insurance company might say, oh, sure, it's no problem. We got you. But then you get into an accident and you're outside of the region that you have insurance for. You're not talking to the same person anymore. Now you're talking to an adjuster. They're gonna be like, you don't have coverage out here, bud. So you need to have the right kind of insurance, and you need to not skimp. You can work on different ways to save money with trucking. And so you might be able to turn your insurance up or down depending on if you're carrying or not. And that way you might be able to save money if you're coming back empty, or if you're sitting in the lot. You might be able to turn down your insurance. Talk to your agent about it though. You need insurance. If you are driving oversized vehicles, you're going to need permits. And if you are carrying hazardous material, you're going to need permits. So please make sure that you know what you're hauling and what permits you need for that. If you have questions, please reach out to me. Someone on my team can help you get squared away and get official. I have talked about this with a lot of people recently because 2023 sucked for a lot of small businesses, especially in the trades and real estate areas of the market. 2023, we just got hit hard with high interest rates, and a lot of people who might have sold or bought a house last year didn't. And it's quite interesting how dependent on real estate cash flow our economy is. When real estate stops moving, then cash stops flowing through the industry, starting with the buying and selling. And so you might be thinking of real estate agents, you might be thinking of inspectors and things like that. But it's way bigger than this, because a lot of people, when they're buying or selling a house, they hire someone to do some painting or clean up their yard or landscaping or fix that squeaky floorboard. And so usually the process of buying or selling a house causes money to flow into the trades. People buy furnishings, people, when they're moving things, people use movers, people buy boxes. But the process of buying or selling a house injects cash into the industry at a local level. And so a lot of money comes into the local economy when real estate is moving. And so when real estate stops moving, that cash flow gets cut off. And also too, when the loan prices went up in 2023, we found a lot of people who might have taken out a home equity loan to do some improvements or go on a vacation or something like that. They didn't borrow that money. And you can argue that maybe people shouldn't be borrowing equity from their house for these things, but that's not for me to say. The fact is, it happened. And what happened when that occurred is it cut off a stream of cash going into the economy. And so that hit the trades, first of all, really hard. We saw a lot of people in the trades shut down their business in 2023, which breaks my heart, because a lot of people in the trades are the kinds of clients I work with all the time. And we've used a lot of Kleenexes up in my conference room with people frustrated and sad and upset about the hit their business took because of the economy. We have seen the market kind of the interest rates kind of pull back, and there's some pent up demand from last year's slow real estate market. And so we're seeing that now people are like, I can't wait another year. And they were just waiting for a little signal that now is safe. And so the interest rates pulled back a little bit. So people were getting a good point or two lower interest rates this year than they were last year. And I've already talked to a few of my realtor friends, and they're saying houses are selling above list within days. And so a real estate agent that I know, she bought all this marketing material for a house, and before the printer could print it, the house was sold. So that's a nice problem to have. But the good news is if real estate transactions inject cash flow into the economy, I'm hoping that 2024 will be better. Also, 2024 is an election year, and we do find that election years do increase the economy a little bit. And I think the reason why is incumbent politicians know that if people feel broke going into the polls at the beginning of November, then they're not going to keep their job. And so politicians want to keep their job. And so they want people to feel happy and successful when they go to vote. So they will work on making the economy look as nice as possible. Whether that lasts in 2025 or not, who knows? But we think in 2024, it should it should do pretty well. How do I find angel investors for my startup? And let me just see if there's one or two slides of this one. Okay. How do I find angel investors for my startup? What is an angel investor? An angel investor, there's different definitions. Believe it or not, I went and looked to see um, if my understanding was correct, and it turns out there's actually different definitions. Here's the one that I use. Angel investors come in and they inject some cash into a business, but they don't want to have a hand in running the business. And so it's more than a loan, because a loan has to be paid back, whereas an angel investor might come in and say, I just want 5% of your company, or something like that. And then that way, when you sell your business, they get paid back because they think your business has a chance of blowing up and being worth way more in a year or two or three. So we commonly see situations like this, back in the day when eBay launched, they raised some capital from investors, some of them angels, some of them not. And then eBay, you know, made a ton of money, and those investors all got paid back big time. PayPal was another good example. In fact, it was a great example because that's what put Elon Musk on the map, and it got bought by eBay. And the people who invested early on in PayPal, which includes Elon Musk, cashed out and looked real good after that. So that's what angel investors do. Why do startup founders like angel investors? Startup founders like them because they give the startup founders a lot of freedom. So if you have a loan, you might be making payments on that loan, and that can be a little bit of a burden if you are in a pre-launch or pre-revenue phase. Or maybe the investor might want to have regular meetings and maybe even be on the board of directors for your company so that they can have a little bit more control. And in that case, you might find that your investors can vote the founder out, say, you know what, you're fired. And so that makes founders a little bit uncomfortable. So angel investors are nice because they don't come in with a lot of rules or a lot of heavy-handed policies. So how do you find them? And the question is, guess what? They're not as common as you think. So I'm going to say this. I started a business in 2010, and I spent a lot of time trying to raise investment capital, and I ruined one of the best opportunities. And that was, I should have been focusing on profitability rather than raising investment capital. And if I had done that, that business probably would have been more successful. And if I had more paying customers and a more polished final product that I could take to investors, I probably would have been able to get a better opportunity to get investment money. But instead, I was doing pitches and videos and slide decks and all of these things, spending time trying to get investment capital. And I was wasting my time to launch my product, which was at the time, I think, a very innovative product. And I missed my window. And if I had spent my time developing my product and doing customer discovery and finding out how people were going to pay, I probably would have launched it successfully and then maybe gotten actual investment money. So first of all, I'm not saying you should avoid angel investors, but I'm going to say this, that free money is like crack, and a lot of people ruin their business chasing after it. But There are some businesses that absolutely cannot function without investment capital. So, for example, if you need to file for patents, you might not have $50,000 to pay for the legal expenses because, yeah, a patent can cost that much. 10,000 easily, 50,000 is not weird at all. If you have regulatory needs, or like if you have to register with a branch of the government, Department of Agriculture, something like that, you might need to raise capital so that you can jump through the regulatory hurdles. Or you might just have a very, very long time between idea and launch. For example, medical and pharmaceutical businesses, even veterinary businesses, it can take years to go from a prototype to a market launch. And that can simply be just prohibitively expensive for the small average startup. And so those are situations where you probably need an investor, and an angel investor is good. In that case, you are going to want to reach out to, first of all, start local. So you might find that the local university, if they have a research division or a research campus, then you can go there and talk to them about opportunities, because you'll probably find better opportunities for investors who focus on a niche rather than broad investors. Incubators are another example. A lot of incubators will take ideas and give them an infusion of, say, $25,000 or $50,000. Techstars, for example, is one. And you can reach out to these guys and you can get a little seed funding to get started, and they don't put a lot of burdens on you. You can use the friends and family style of investors, which is the most accessible and easiest to find investment opportunity. And these are the people that you know and who know you and trust you, who would infuse some cash into your business. We are oftentimes not talking about huge amounts of cash at this level, but honestly, I think that's a good idea. I think that more startups should start lean. And so that's probably just right for your business. So there's a few ideas on how to find capital, when to find capital, probably more information than you asked for, but hopefully useful. All right, how do I buy a vehicle in my company's name? And this is an excellent question, and I actually talk about this quite often with my clients. I use it as an example on how to avoid getting sued personally. But first of all, let me just say this: the businesses don't have credit ratings like people do. And so new businesses have no industry or market reputation, and there's no such thing as like Experian or whatever for businesses. And that's not exactly true, but it doesn't work like consumers. So you can't just say, well, I make $200,000, give me a credit card. It can, but oftentimes you'll find lenders, they want some kind of security. And so if you need to go buy a vehicle and you want to borrow money to do it, you're going to have to convince a lender that your business is worth it. And if your business is new, guess what they're going to say? No. They're going to say, I'm not lending your business money unless you personally guarantee it. A personal guarantee says, well, my business is responsible for the vehicle and responsible for making payments. But if my business can't, then me personally, my own name with my own house, my own credit and whatever, I'm going to step in and make sure that you get covered. And so that's the thing, is you're going to have to go knowing that unless your business has a really good reputation for paying bills, you're probably going to have to sign a personal guarantee. But now, let's just get to the nuts and bolts of the question. Let's say that the money's not an issue. You go buy a $2,000 pickup truck, if such a thing exists anymore. You can just put the title in the business name, take it down and register it in the business, and that's it. Piece of cake. I don't think that's what this question is about. I think this question is about financing. And in that case, you're going to have to go to the financing department at the dealership, whether you're buying used or new. You're going to have to tell them you want it to be in the business's name. They're going to have no problem with it. They're going to look into your business's history. How many years have you been in business? How much money does your business make? What kind of risk profile does your business have? And they're going to categorize your business and see, well, okay, these categories we're okay with, those categories we're not okay with. And then they'll rate your business and decide if they want to lend you money. They might say yes. They might say not unless you give me a personal guarantee. In that case, they're going to do a credit check on you, the owner, to make sure that you have good enough credit. And if you do, then it's no problem. They'll lend you the money and your business can make the payments. Now, there are some tax implications with this, and as you know, I don't give tax advice. My tax advice is talk to your CPA, and your CPA may have some additional advice for you specific to your business, but this is how you get a vehicle into your company's name. And that brings us to the end of this video, this live stream. And so remember that if you want to get notified about future AMAs, you should sign up for, you should subscribe on YouTube or follow on Facebook or LinkedIn. And that way you get notified when we do more live streams. If you want to talk to me, go to surge.law, sign up for an appointment. I'd love to schedule some time with you. And with that, I will see you next time.